Hi there, traders, and welcome to the weekly market update and also the end of the month market update. So we're going to look in terms of the markets, but before we continue, please note that these videos are for educational purposes only and not to be taken formal advice. Past performance and indicative future results, and remember that trading in general is risky. If you need to know more, please visit our website at www.estetrader.com. Also, join our free trading community via Telegram. The list is actually below. And if you like these videos, please make sure to subscribe and just press the subscribe button below to receive more of this type of videos. And I hope you basically enjoyed it. And based on our also weekly market updates and certain reports, like the dollar CAD, for example, that was perfect, what basically we did, and also the correction, what happened a few days ago, actually last week. And so let's go through in terms of what the forecast is going to bring for August and for next week. All right, so let me just share my screen here and let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off first with the macro fundamentals, and we're going to go look in terms of the indices. Where's the SP 500 right here? So this is the monthly chart of it. There was an increase in volume compared to June. Still very bullish. There is a possibility that a continuation of it will occur. Mind you too, though, that it is also created blue sky territory here, 4431.31. I'm being cautious when it comes to buying in terms of the S&P in general. So just be aware of that. And now that school is going to come, and kids are going back to school as of next month. In most cases during summertime, sometimes as well with low volume due to holidays, but we'll see when that happens. Okay, so since May 2020 has been very, very bullish. So during the pandemic, and nothing has stayed in terms of its correction, like say this guy right here. So in my opinion, there's going to be some form of correction happening all the way back down to maybe perhaps 3600. But when that occurs, we'll look into that a little bit more. So for August, it's still very bullish. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, way overbought, and there's a possibility of a correction coming pretty shortly, actually. So based on the weekly, this is what's happening weekly. There's a depletion in volume. They're currently on the doji. Potential reversal next week, where it's going to form an evening star. Evening star is simply forming where the buyers are in place, uncertainty in terms of stabilization, and then correction is going to happen. So mind you too, though, that evening stars are just also correctional patterns, not just reversal patterns. So on the daily time frame, create a new peak last week, stabilizing itself. Short term, I'm actually bearish all the way down to approximately 43.40, 43.20 to retest all the way down to 42.40. All right, so that's within the S&P. Dow Jones, let's look at the Dow Jones. Also uncertainty through here. In my opinion, there's also some form of potential correction happening pretty shortly, back down to around 26.69 all the way from here, 28.693 first and 26.692 as part of those Fibonacci levels. All right, that's on the monthly. Weekly stability, same, very similar with the S&P. Mind you, they're just stabilizing here, even though it created new high this week at 35.171. So potentially to retest this low at 33.729 all the way down to 33.274, this area of demand. So short to longer term, I'm actually bearish with the indices, and I'm not a fund of as a buyer at this point, since price is majorly at supply and it's also majorly overbought. The volatility index with the S&P, on the other hand, looking at the monthly time frame here, very nice. So let me just remove that. Created basically that upper shadow through there, creating now a new higher low. I am bullish with the VIX, and hence I am bearish with the S&P 500. Weekly time frame, have uncertainty through there based on last week, lower highs and higher lows. So notice a bunch of higher lows through there. So it's still bullish. And then through the daily time frame, there was a big gap, filling that gap at this point, creating a proper trough through there with a higher low. So to retest back to around the 25 area. Dollar index. Dollar index, I am bullish with the dollar index, to be honest, heading towards approximately around that 97 mark here on our area of supply once it'll break around 93.30. So part of the report from last week that it'll approximately reach around 93.50, almost, not quite, but it'll definitely reach that supply level, hence back to stability. So continuation of it. So there's some form of divergence happening these past few weeks. So dollar index, I am bullish. Weekly, there notice in terms of that evening star from that lower high. Based on the weekly, there could be a potential continuation heading towards around 91.25, somewhere around there to break, to retest 91.50 actually, and then heading all the way to around that 91. But if not, this evening star, which is also a correctional pattern, we'll see based on next week's news. Daily time frame, bulls are already coming into play. So if the higher low will perform on Monday, then back to around the 93.20 and beyond. All right, oil. Oil currently right at this point in time in the area of supply. I am bearish, to be honest, with oil. I believe there's a great opportunity for shorting and potential evening star next month. So when this happens, simply waiting just a proper confirmation through there, better price point for selling back to around 75. So I'll be looking at that next week. Daily time frame, it's definitely approaching through there with this very bearish move being given away, but definitely back to area supply at this point. So I'm bearish with US oil, UK oil. In terms of crude, same thing, area supply, way overbought, potentially evening star as well next month. So weekly time frame, once it forms at lower high as form of confirmation, we're going to start to look into that one for shorting. Daily time frame, we basically created lower high through there. All right, gold. Looking at gold, very nice. So potentially a continuation of gold, but it all depends. Since we have a bearish engulfing pattern through there, and they're not willing to go through in this trend line. But if so, all the way to 1864, then back to the sell. Okay, so you can see through here, there's a stabilizing itself from this very bearish candle, can go all the way to around 1860, 1870. Daily time frame from yesterday's bullish move, area supply, they're giving it back. Going to retest this, and then basically potentially the probability is going to go up. It's highly probable. Okay, so that is with gold. Looking at copper, copper is also bullish right at this point in time. Higher low, the retest all back to around $5 mark. Weekly time frame, there's a gap, but because of this also a very bearish move, we're going to be aware of that. So if it finishes like this from the gravestone doji, odds and probability it will head back down 425, 1412, highly probable basically from there. So if price will reach around 456, 460, and much better price point of actually selling. TYX, looking at the yield, currently bearish at the level of demand. So once potentially some form of doji and still bullish with it, currently they're stabilizing itself. So they're still unsure. Odds and probability that is going to go up actually is highly probable than anything. All right, so that's based on the macro fundamentals. I'm going to go through the majors against the currencies, US dollar at this point in time. Looking at the Aussie US dollar is still very bearish. They didn't want to play out. So it could potentially drop all the way down here to 70.50 all the way to 67.56.8, especially if the market's gonna tank and the dollar index is currently very bullish at this point. Weekly time frame stabilizing itself, potential correction before a continuation to the downside. Daily time frame retest back down to 73 mark. Euro US dollar approach 119. So as part of my report last week, based on the euro dollar, is it time to buy? It did. Very nice. Very nicely. It went up more than 100 pips. On average, we got out around 55 to 60 pips and went beyond that actually. So 119. Since it created new higher highs, odds and probability for this one to come back down to create a new higher low in the future is more than likely to happen, unless based on that, right? So they retest this demand. If it breaks out, bam, back down here to 108, 110. Only if it chooses to, because of that lower high as well. And part of the convex, where two price points are actually almost meeting within each other. All right, so that's on the monthly, weekly, still very bullish from it. I believe it can go away 119.48, 120. However, if depending on what the news is going to be next week and depends on the dollar index as well, then this is going to fail back down to 118. Pound against the US dollar. You have a part of it still very bullish on the other hand, but you also have the bearish part of the uncertainty. So holding at this point in time. Weekly, on the other hand, nice, beautiful bullish bar at this point. Odds and probability, it could potentially head back to 141 to create a lower high from that lower low is more than likely to happen. So right now, on the other hand, though, is forming, it's correcting itself. Maybe perhaps back down 138.25, and if it settles somewhere here, then definitely gonna think of going long at this point. Kiwi. Kiwi based on the monthly stability as well, potential bullish move. So we'll see when that happens. But if not, it will break out. Bam, can go back down to 66, 62, 60 long term. Weekly time frame, a lot of uncertainty. Currently higher high, higher low. I'm actually bullish with that one. And if the price will come back down somewhere here, 69.20, a better price point of buying, which is a level of demand. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is stabilizing itself. Mind you, too, though, it's still basically bearish at this point. So, but there's also potential correction all the way 130.23, 133. Okay, so that's within the monthly, weekly, looking very nice. Potentially can come back all the way down to 123.10, and before it can continue to go to the upside. Daily, on the other hand, showing a different story, almost in the 50th percentile. So depending on what oil is going to do, if oil is going to drop, then this has potential continuation to the upside. So that's on my radar. Dollar Swiss is definitely on my radar because monthly potential, there's that potential higher low, really good price point of buying at this point in time, potentially all the way down to 94 and beyond. Weekly, very bearish from this bullish move. In my opinion, is a correction, also at level of demand. All right, daily time frame forming a doji, potential morning star next week in terms of Monday, and all the way to around 91.40, somewhere there. Okay, so about 80, 90 pips to the upside. Last but not the least, we'll go through the dollar against the Japanese yen. Currently very bearish at this point, forming a piercing dark cloud cover, but you have higher high, higher low. Potentially, there is a probability it will come back down and drop before it can continue to go to the upside. Weekly time frame, bearish, but you have a lot of buying pressure within this area of demand. So there is a potential reversal next week, but it's been going up and down like a yo-yo. All right, so that's basically the market update for the week and for the month. So just be aware of that. Just to summarize it, basically I'm bullish with the dollar index, I'm bearish with the markets, and I wish you good luck with your trading. And make sure to subscribe to our videos if you want more of these. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at estraders@gmail.com. All righty. Take care until next time. Thank you and happy trading. Bye now.